sat before the therapist and I said, I don't even know why I'm here because I can't even pay you. You must be so blessed by God or something. And she took up a check and she said, this is a blank check that someone left here to pay for all the therapy that Nathan would ever need. Right.
So you will have to expound a little bit more to us and to our audience about this just being one of the giants, special needs. Expound on
A
that.
child with special needs.
Yes.
Yes. So we planned our family in terms of we had our first son. And then we said we lost the first pregnancy, by the way. Mm-hmm. And so that was another giant. And then we had Jordan. And then we planned for Nathan for them to be 2 years apart because we wanted them to grow up together.
Okay.
And so there was nothing in the pregnancy that suggested that anything was wrong until it was time for delivery.
Wow.
And everything it was like I went into a movie at delivery. And came out, and this child came out not crying, and they whisked him off, and our lives was changed completely. Our lives changed completely. So initially, the doctors told us he would not live past the age of 2. And he went through a gamut of testing. And eventually we were able to get his chromosomes analyzed at Miami General Hospital. And then we found out that he had a rare chromosomal abnormality. And in that abnormality were all of the issues that he had. And he had a lot of issues, right? So many of them. He has been hospitalized 13 to 15 times. He's done a few surgeries. And the final surgery he did where his urethra was re-implanted because the urine was backing up into his kidney. And so it wasn't flowing the way that it should. So he used to get very sick ever so often. So, the hospital knew us. We didn't have to go to emergency when he became, as soon as he had a fever, we just went straight to the ward. I had to stop working. And, so dynamics changed, financial challenges started at that time. So there was another giant that came along the way as well. And then our 2-year-old at that time began to regress because mommy was we were in and out, spending so much time at the hospital. I wouldn't leave Nathan at the hospital. I lived there. You lived at the hospital. Richard would come and relieve me after work, and I go home, spend some time, and I'm back. And until he had his days off, then I would be home on his days off. So that's how we did it. Yeah. And we had a lot of support as well from the church family. Right, but Jordan regressed because I wasn't there. His world had turned upside down.
Son?
Yes.
Okay.
His world had turned upside down. Things were just different for him.
Yes.
And so life was very uncertain. At that time it was really very uncertain because it's like we lived for the next fever. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yeah, so it's like our lives revolved around that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd just like to say, though, in all of this, it goes, the Lord was really very good to us. Because as Elspeth said, she had stopped working. Right, so at the time, I was working at Air Jamaica.
No, American Airlines.
90. Yes, okay. But what happened? What had happened was Air Jamaica at the time was sorting out their pension plans.
Okay.
Right? And the issue was Nathan's stay in the hospital became very expensive. And with the one salary, couldn't cover it and then live as well. And so the Lord worked it out that the pensions from Air Jamaica came in at the right time, right? The cost for the hospital came up to, I think, $104,000. And the pension that I got from Air Jamaica at the time was $105,000.
Wow.
So it just covered everything.
Wow.
So we didn't have to go into the salary any at all.
That was for one hospital stay, by the way.
So, the Lord really covered us over that time. And Nathan, as Elspeth was saying, did so many tests. He was born with a hole in the heart. His condition predisposed him to kidney issues, right? And as she said, he had a lot of operations and hospitalizations. In the first 2 years of Nathan's life, he was hospitalized 15 times, right, and had about 3 operations. So, that was really something. We had to be in and out. As I said, the people there knew us. Yes. Like we were like almost resident there.
Yes. And so, how in summary, we the children also, because Jordan, your first child, was regressing in account of that. Nathan is here battling for life. I just want to put in perspective as we, take a wrap, especially the children. What is standing now? Where is Jordan? Where is
Nathan. So
and there's another Genesis.
Yes, right.
That's supposed to be the beginning.
Yes. But I'll tell you. So Jordan is now finishing second year at UWI. Nathan is 19. He attends a school for children with special needs. And Genesis, our only daughter, she's named Genesis because she is the only girl. Mm-hmm. And so first girl. Mm-hmm. And she's Genesis -Joy. So she's the beginning of joy as a girl. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Okay. So
Beautiful.
yes. So she is a C-secker. She's preparing for C-sec this year.
Okay. Nice.
Right.
Right.
So that's where they are. Mm-hmm. But
I
wanted to tell you that when at our wedding, Gordon Russell, who married us, he spoke to us about love the decision, not about love the feeling. And that couldn't have been a more apt word for our journey, because it's love the decision that really has kept us through all the ups and the downs. And there have been many ups and downs, right? Having a special needs child, nobody banked on it. It was who wants a child with special needs? And I remember a visiting missionary came and she said to us, do you know that statistically 99.9% of marriages that have children with special needs, they break up. Exactly. Right?
Yeah.
And it didn't enter my mind. I don't think it entered your mind either, honey. We just, we just went on, and I think that was a special grace that God gave us, because it really was not an issue. It really did not become an issue for us, right?
Just to say, it's a little bit humorous,
yes.
Right? We had this special needs child, and each of us were wondering if, this came about as a result of the others, something.
Who's lying? The blame game.
Yes.
So, we really didn't say anything.
And we didn't tell each other. We didn't tell each other we were wondering, but we were on a radio program on RJR at the time, and it came out on the program that I was wondering if he has a chromosomal abnormality, and he's wondering the same thing about me, right?
Wow.
Yeah,
Interesting.
But, I think all of that really goes to show, that the Lord really does have his hand upon our marriage, our family, and everything to guide and to protect, to keep us from things that maybe under ordinary circumstances people might have split.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So. And Nathan's name was intentionally chosen. It means gift of God.
Yes.
And I guess as we go on, we'll tell you where Nathan is today, but he is a gift to us.
Yes.
He has been a gift to us.
Well, in this segment, we can, because we have much further to go, but in this segment, we'd want to get all that we can extrapolate, read this. Like, for example, one of the things I remember seeing you, then Nathan would have been about certainly 4 years young at the very least, Richard. And I remember seeing you coming to a football game, prep school sports game, and you carried Nathan. It was actually a sports day, and you carried Nathan on your back. I never said it to you before, but that was very touching. It brought me back to this story. You know, many of us may have watched of this father who did everything for his special challenge kid, and he entered a race and how he trained. You know, that was so inspirational. You know, and incidentally, there's a pastor colleague that I have who his special needs child is not so much like the challenge of Nathan, just that he did not develop mentally, but quite healthy if you ask me, physically and otherwise. And I know that thing challenged his life. And he's you know, really in the US. I traveled with him all the way to Little Rock when I went to visit him, and you know, just to look for his son. So I can only from a distance imagine the challenge that it has been for both of you.
Yes.
And how it would have impacted your relationship as a couple. But give us your wrapping things on. You said you want to share more on the children's story, especially special needs.
With Nathan. It's Nathan has had to go through a lot of physiotherapy, occupational therapy, which he does to today. And as Richard said, money became a challenge. I remember when we married, I never thought that money would be an issue, right?
You mean you had money?
Richard had money.
I
love it. So I never thought money would be an issue, but when we had Nathan, money became an issue.
Wow.
And one of the things God did for us, or God has done many wonderful things, but early on when Nathan, we knew he needed speech therapy. And when we heard the cost of it, we just couldn't afford it. You know, and he needed it every week. And so I remember someone saying to me, just go, take Nathan, go to therapy and just find out what it's about, whatever. And so I decided to go, and I sat before the therapist and I said, I don't even know why I'm here because I can't even pay you. And she said, well, my dear, you must be so blessed by God or something. And she took up a check. And she said, this is a blank check that someone left here to pay for all the therapy that Nathan would ever need. Right? And that was just mind-blowing, you know? And so imagine if I hadn't gone, right? And that's just one of the many things God has provided for Nathan along the way, because his care, his education proved to be much more expensive than the other children. And for everything that he needed, God showed up. God just kept showing up. He just kept providing. And he needed even to have someone working with him. He needed what we call a shadow, you know, and that is, you have to pay someone a weekly salary for that, and, you know, going to a special school, and the fees were exorbitant. They were very high. And the Lord provided every step of the way. We don't owe any school any money for Nathan. You know, it has just been the grace of God along the way.
Yes, I have a follow-up question though. So have you ever felt like, you know, God has given up on you? Why am I going through this? You gave me a child that is, you know, is of special needs. You gave me a husband who I thought had money at the time, and now we have nothing. Have you ever thought like God has given up on you?
Absolutely. I've had many low moments. And even with the job loss, the first one we sailed through, and I think we sailed through because there was some money. The second one was not as rosy, right? And the third one was and has been the trial of one of my greatest trials, because God used this time to show me what was in my heart, you know. And so when I thought it was all about Richard, the Lord said, no, you know, I need to deal with you, you know. And so the Lord showed me so many things in me that he needed to bring to my attention, you know. And had we not been in that situation, I wouldn't have seen it and wouldn't have been able to address it, right? But I had many low moments, and in this one, I've had meltdowns that I never knew I would have a meltdown, you know.
Like a depressive episode?
No, just crying, feeling like I'm going to lose my mind. And, you know, the financial pressures were just so great, you know. And it's almost as if I didn't remember all the things that God has done, you know, because when you're in the moment, you know, it's like you lose sight of everything. And there are times when I did feel, you know, like David had said, has the Lord forgotten us? You know, and we had to bring ourselves back to truth.
Well, there you have it. Yes. Natalie, we'll have to hold this one here because it is riveting.
It is.
We will have to facilitate a follow-up session from Richard and Elspeth Madden, whose marital journeys decked with miracles. A man who we've heard on the set had money.
Yes.
He had association with Air Jamaica and was a frequent flyer on American Airlines, paying $20, 20 Jamaican dollars to go to New York and come back. But then things turned. That Elspeth gave up her job, not working, and then it's one salary. There's more to come because we'd like to learn more of the miracles and even how the challenges of the Nathan and other issues that go forward. So stay tuned, Natalie. Take us out.
I mean, you know, that really touched me. I just want to thank you again for listening. You know, I want to thank our sponsor, Mattox Health and Fitness, our resident producer, George Malcolm Walker, and our program director, Damian De Aguilar. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel at New Foundation Christian Ministries. Follow us on Instagram at B1 Marriage Ministry and on Facebook at New Foundation Christian Ministries. Goodbye. Thank you for watching.
See you next time.